Sandy Says Read. Welcome back to the channel. This evening we are going to do a quick review of the sample issue. This is by J. Patrick Lamar. You might recognize that name because he's an author from Imaginarium, but also because we did a review of one of his short story collections here on the channel recently. If I remember, I will put a link to that in the drop-down box below. But for now, we're going to talk about this short story chapbook that I got at Imaginarium 2023. He handed me this at Imaginarium 2023. This is an awesome marketing idea. As a fellow author, I am pleased with this marketing idea. What he's done here is he has put 3 short stories. Well, one of them, we'll talk about that in a second. There's 3 short stories in this little chapbook, and each of the short stories, each of the works in this sample issue is from one of his larger works. So if you read the first story and you think, oh, I really like that, you could go then to his website or to Amazon and pick up the larger work where that story is found. Right? Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Great idea. And by the way, I did very much enjoy the first story in here. So yeah, we're gonna talk about this now. Okay, so let me get out my specs, my notes. This is the sample issue from J. Patrick Lamar, published in 2023. The first story in here is called The Cinder Man, and it's from his longer work of short stories called From Shadow Plays. This Cinder Man takes up pages 1 through 37. The second story in here is Layover. It's from All That Waits in the Night, and that's the one you guys might recognize. We reviewed the short story collection All That Waits in the Night, I don't know, a little while ago. Let's see, Layover, it's pages 39 through 56. And then at the back of this little chapbook is A Promise Kept, and it is from The Witches of Greyfolk Tales of the Evermore. Did I say that right? The Witches of Greyfolk Tales of the Evermore, book 1. And that's why I'm thinking it's not so much as a short story as it is an excerpt from that book 1. Still, it's a nice idea to have it included in here. And it takes pages 57 to 69. So let's talk a little bit about these stories. I'm going to kind of skip Layover. I'm going to skip over Layover because I think we talked about it in the other review. We'll skip over it. The first one in here is the one I want to really focus on, The Cinder Man, because I so enjoyed the story. It's sort of a modern day, contemporary story. It's not a fantasy story the way A Promise Kept felt a bit more fantasy, right? A bit more, there was more magical fantasy stuff going on in A Promise Kept than The Cinder Man until this horror element just nailed you in the gut. It was very nicely done. It's the story of David and Meg, and they're, having this car ride home from visiting with Meg's parents. David and Meg, they're this married couple. They're childless. They've been married for I think just over 5 years at least, and they haven't had kids yet. And so one of the topics of discussion when they were at the in-laws was, when are you going to have kids, right? And so that's on David's mind when he lets Meg take over driving for a little while, and he, takes a nap. But Meg has to throw on the brakes to avoid hitting someone in the middle of the road, and Dave bangs his head against the dash, and he's got a concussion, and I love the way Patrick uses that concussed mind, that wooziness, that sense of disarray, that sense of being concussed, that sense of being just out of reality, right? He uses that sense of confusion in David, the narrator, to help us feel confused in the story, to help us have that sense of, boy, something's not right here, something's not real here, something's bad something bad is going on. And in fact, something bad is going on. And this horrible, scary creature, the Cinder Man, is out there, and there's a child in danger. So all of our emotions are pulled into play, and it's very well done. And in fact, I want to read a little piece for you, as we do in these reviews. There is on page 27 just a passage that Patrick has written, where David is thinking, and he says, "We approached silently, though we both believed the boy when he said that the Cinder Man was gone. We were in a mousetrap, sniffing at the cheese and stepping lightly around the catch, our tender necks tense with fear of the hammer. The boy had stayed in the car, but it was nothing more than a formality. If we died, he would die too." Isn't that awesome? I mean, he's built so much tension in this story, so much. It's very well done, a great horror suspense story. And I'm not going to tell you guys what happens. I'm not going to tell you how it ends. You're going to have to read. Let's see. If this sample issue is not available any longer, if you can't get it off of Patrick's website, then you're going to have to go to Shadow Plays. You're going to have to get the anthology of Shadow Plays to read this story, because it's really good. All right, then Layover was in All That Waits in the Night, which we talked about before. A Promise Kept. This one follows the story of Dark. He's a character in a library. And if I've got this right, because this is just a snippet from the longer story, the longer work, but Dark, I think he is an amalgamation of two other characters that he's like pulled into himself, and he can go through doors in the library, but those doors are actually passages in books. So he's like going on adventures in books, and it's interesting. And he's got a device on his arm that a narrator is speaking to him through. I got a flare of steampunk through that. It was very interesting. So I enjoyed these three works. I thought the marketing was very clever. And Patrick, well done. I can recommend the sample issue, if it's even available. He had it available for a very short time to use as a marketing tool. If it's not available, then y'all gonna have to just go and pick up these longer works to read more from Patrick. That's it. Thumbs up for awesome marketing and great suspense. Great suspense. Please click the bell notification icon, you guys, so that you are notified each time I do this random stuff. Thanks for tuning in.